Vitali Alekseenok is one of Europe's most successful and well-known young conductors. Hailing from the small Belarusian town of Vileka, he's a winner of the Toscanini competition for international conductors. For the past 2 seasons, the 35-year-old has been principal conductor of the Deutsche Oper am Rhein, which operates in 2 cities in western Germany, Düsseldorf and Duisburg. One of the most recent productions he's worked on is Beethoven's only opera, Fidelio. This production is particularly meaningful to the young conductor.
This is a very interesting opera, and perhaps one of the most political operas in classical music. But I think it contains more art than politics. Even political themes, such as the liberation of the political prisoner Florestan by his wife Leonora, are dealt with through the language of art.
Final preparations before the dress rehearsal in Duisburg's Mercatorhalle.
Such beautiful music, unimaginably beautiful. When I look at the score, I imagine how it will sound when it's sung and played. It's just incredible.
Last week, Vitali led 13 rehearsals, a concert, and held 5 administrative meetings. At the same time, he was preparing the opera Boris Godunov for upcoming performances at the National Opera in Lyon. But today, his energy is focused on Beethoven.
A conductor must always be on time and available to everyone. Sometimes it's just too much. You have to be very punctual and prepare very precisely. Every minute counts for me right now. We're almost on stage. Our rehearsal starts in 6 minutes. The most important thing is that we listen to each other, that we make a shared artistic statement. Of course, without an audience, you're only halfway there. But all the technical aspects must be perfected, so that we only have to add the emotional element during the actual performance. That's why we're now working to ensure that everyone knows exactly what to do and when.
Vitali speaks 6 languages. During rehearsals at the Deutsche Oper am Rhein, communication is in German.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really looking forward to our dress rehearsal.
Alekseenok began working as Kapellmeister at the Deutsche Oper am Rhein in 2022. He's conducted productions such as Lady Macbeth, Nabucco, and Eugene Onegin in Düsseldorf. Just a few months after starting this role, he was offered the position of principal conductor.
I think he very clearly shows what he wants when he's leading rehearsals. And now here at this concert, his hands and eyes are fully alert, watching the choir. He usually sings along to the lyrics. I always feel that through his gestures and his eye contact, he keeps a good connection with us, allowing us to make music together and create something really nice.
Vitali began his musical career as a teenager in the Vileka Wind Orchestra after his parents enrolled him in music school. He didn't enjoy it at first.
I didn't know what classical music was. I first heard a Beethoven symphony when I was about 13 or 14. We didn't perform classical music at the music school in Vileka. We played more jazz, funk, and other kinds of music like that. It was a lot of fun. It was very beautiful, very cool. It was really driving. And by the time I was 16, I knew for sure that I was going to be a musician. I realized that there was music, that there was something that had never been in my life before. And to be honest, in Vileka there was almost no place for classical music. You had to leave to understand that it was out there.
Vitali studied at the music school in Minsk, and in 2011, at the age of 20, he left Belarus to study at the State Conservatory in St. Petersburg.
It wasn't possible to just leave Belarus. Traveling to Western Europe was really expensive and I couldn't afford it. That's why I went to Russia to study. It was only after I finished studying there that I was able to come to Western Europe. I loved German romantic music a lot, and that influenced my decision to continue my studies in Germany.
Vitali has been studying at the University of Music in Weimar since 2016. He also performs regularly in Ukraine, where he took over as artistic director of the Kharkiv Music Festival in 2021. He's conducted concerts in Germany, Italy, France, and England. It seems the conductor is in demand everywhere, except his home country of Belarus.
I conducted my very first concert at the music school in Minsk, which is now called Glinka College. My conducting debut was 2 short pieces. After that, I never did another concert in Belarus, except for one on the streets of Minsk in August 2020. No one has ever offered me the chance to perform in Belarus. And even now, no one is doing so, understandably. These days, I wouldn't go either, just like almost no one from Belarus is going there now, for understandable reasons. I think the only stage in Belarus for all of us right now would be prison.
In 2020, Vitali took part in the peaceful protests in Minsk and later wrote a book about the experience in German. As a result, traveling to Belarus is dangerous for him today.
When it comes to Belarus, I live in a kind of limbo, a moment that, as if frozen, has already stretched more than 5 years. You think, maybe something will change very soon, or maybe never. And yes, you keep thinking that it's a country you can't go to, the country where you spent your childhood. My situation, frankly, is an absolutely privileged one. I have things to keep me busy. I'm happy that I'm doing music. And I think we all need to take care of ourselves right now. And of course, it's very important not to forget about all the people who are currently in the prisons there.
Fidelio is an opera about liberation. The genre was associated with the French Revolution. In it, Beethoven responded to changes in society and portrayed a person who fights for freedom.
Beethoven is a composer who, in my opinion, above all, shows what the human spirit is and how powerful it can be. And I think that in this context, we can address various themes. And we can also bring in completely different topics: wars, political prisoners, repression, revolution or counter-revolution. But first of all, it seems to me that in this work, Fidelio, there's potential for our listeners, for us musicians, to understand how deeply a person can go within themselves and where they can find the will to become better, to do something very important.
In the production by the Deutsche Oper am Rhein, Fidelio was expanded to include new texts by writer Katja Petrowskaja about Ukraine.
War is also a form of prison, of captivity. What does it mean for people to live between war and peace? What does this everyday life mean? Also in relation to Leonora, who toils away in prison for 2 years simply to find out whether her husband is still alive and to try to free him. So what does his perseverance mean? What does this work mean? That's why I wrote 4 texts about war. They are all true stories. Perhaps, roughly speaking, about today's Leonoras.
I
believe that right now, because of the autocratic tendencies that unfortunately exist around the world at the moment, it is good to perform works that remind us again and again that freedom and human rights, etc., cannot be taken for granted. And even though we live in a well-functioning democracy, we must fight for freedom and human rights every day.
Dürfen und müssen auch.
A standing ovation. The audience loved the concert and refused to let the musicians and singers leave the stage. And what did the conductor think about the performance? Colleagues congratulate him backstage.
I think we were able to convey the emotions well. We could clearly sense that the audience was following us, enjoying the music, and was very receptive to the lyrics. I hope it was a great concert for them, too.
Vitali Alekseenok is delighted to be able to perform in one of Europe's finest opera houses. He hopes that one day he'll be able to conduct in front of an audience in Belarus once again.